Are you someone who's feeling stuck in life? Like you are just in this frozen space, you're in a rut where you just can't even decide which path to take, or you have no idea what the path options are for you, and it feels absolutely overwhelming. This fear can be really paralyzing, and there's a subconscious reason for it. There is this thing that goes on inside of you that's kind of out of your control because you don't have access to that subconscious mind. So I'm going to give you some very specific strategic steps that you can take today to shift that and hopefully give you an understanding and an explanation that helps you get a lot more clarity on this. If you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship coach focusing on attachment style and how our attachment style affects our life, not just in our relationships, but also in our ability to move forward in life, whether that be career or trying new things or all kinds of things. So what I do with my clients is I go back on this subconscious level through hypnotherapy, and we reframe those limiting beliefs that are keeping you from creating the life and the love that you want. So if you'd like to learn more, you can check out the link in the description. My website has all kinds of information, and it also has an opportunity on my website for you to set up a completely complimentary consultation call so we can talk with each other. We can get to the root of what's going on. I can get you hopefully some clarity and make my best recommendations. So check that out. So let's talk for a minute about why this fear exists. Think about being a kid and doing something wrong, and you might have been scolded. You might have been told how that was bad and don't do it this way, do it that way. And so there was shame and there was guilt. But the feeling that most people don't put their finger on is that there was embarrassment. Embarrassment. That's really what's at the root of what's driving this behavior, is the fear of embarrassment. And if you're really embarrassed, it means you feel like the world's going to find out that you're flawed. You're going to make a mistake in front of everyone. You're going to lose it all. You can't trust yourself. So this fear of embarrassment and this fear of judgment really can get ingrained at a very young age and create sort of a neural pathway that continually reinforces that. So when we're programming our subconscious mind, it's between the ages of really birth and 7 years old. We're in the theta brainwave state during that time, which means we're basically in hypnosis. Now, there's other ways that we can influence the brain after that with big trauma and complex trauma and other things that happen in life that can kind of break through and get to the subconscious mind. But the subconscious mind, for the most part, is very guarded and protected. So the programs that went in there, the beliefs that we created around the things that we experienced are really locked in there. And if we felt like we were shamed or scolded for making mistakes even, think about the little kid that carries a little cup of milk across the kitchen and they're just a little, 4-year-old, and they trip and they fall and the milk goes everywhere. Now, think about the parent that's like, oh, God, I can't believe you spilled that. You need to be more careful. You need to pay attention to where you're going. None of that is really applicable because this was just a mistake. The same as it's a mistake if you stub your toe. And so they didn't really get the response that was nurturing, that said, oh, it's okay. We can clean that up. You can help me. It's no big deal. They didn't get a lot of that. And so consequently, we develop these beliefs that are driving this feeling or belief that is, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. And we walk around our lives wearing a mask, trying to pretend to be worthy and look good on the outside. And we can be terrified that the world's going to find us out, and they're going to find out that we actually suck, that we aren't very good, and that we're some kind of secret failure. So the reality is, what you need to realize is that the only real thing you can fail at is staying stuck in indecision. That is the failure. Being stuck in indecision. You can't make a wrong choice. You can't make a mistake. This belief is a lie. And let me give you some examples of why it's a lie. First of all, you could be deciding between this job and just torn about which one you should take, right? So you choose job A, and then years go by and you think, this sucks. I made a huge mistake. I should have chosen that other job. How dumb am I? But you have no way of knowing what job B would have held for you. You have absolutely no way of knowing if it would have been worse, if it would have been a toxic work environment, all kinds of things. You just have no way of knowing. The same way as you don't know the difference between, if you had chosen one college over another college or one spouse over another spouse. You might know that this experience, so let's say you're divorced and you think that experience was awful. I should never have married that person. Well, you don't know if you had chosen the other person or someone else that it would have been better. You don't know because you didn't experience it. And we can make assumptions and stories in our mind that keep us stuck. And we also have to take into consideration the part we play in every choice we make, and the work environment and the marriages and all of that. So this really comes down to not allowing yourself to be frozen in indecision. We need to realize that successful people have made far more mistakes than anyone else. And the reason is because they fail fast and they fail forward, and they're not afraid to fail, because failure is what gives you the information that you need to take the next step that's closer to the direction you want to go, that gives you insight and gives you knowledge and gives you the courage. And you don't get that from sitting still or even reading a book. You get that from stepping out in faith and moving in any direction. And so I want to sort of paint this picture. Let's imagine you meet someone who looks perfect in every way, perfect in the way they look, perfect in the way they act, perfect in their whole life story. They've never made a mistake. They have always done exactly the right thing. Are you going to feel like opening up to them? Are you going to feel like you can really be yourself with them? Probably not, because you're going to feel like you know all the flaws about you and they seem so perfect. Why would you ever be vulnerable with them? The reality is that being vulnerable is what draws people to you. Because if you met someone who was very centered in their self-worth, who knew who they were, owned their mistakes, knew that they made them, was honest about it, and open, you would probably be disarmed to the point where you knew, oh, I can be myself with that person. I can be vulnerable with them because they're being real with me. So you choosing to be real with the world is actually what helps people attract to you. So that, coupled with a decision to not be stuck in indecision, realizing that there is no wrong choice as long as it's not causing harm to other people, any choice is creating momentum and movement. So we talk about this choice like it's just a really easy thing. Just, go ahead and choose anything. Go for it. But the reality is that there is some subconscious stuff driving this. We talked about how we program that subconscious mind, and we need to realize that the subconscious mind is driving over 95% of everything we think, feel, and do. So it's really in control. And if we don't have access to it, then we're fighting against that programming. And that is where a custom hypnotherapy process is really, really valuable. So this is what I do with my clients. I help them go back on that subconscious level to the place where they formed the belief that's keeping them stuck, that's creating the fear or the uncertainty, and we reframe that with the truth. So now you have a new operating system that helps you move forward into the life you want without as much fear, without as much programming working against you, where you're connected to your self-worth, you're connected to your confidence, and you know that even if you make a mistake, it's fine. You're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to create momentum by making any kind of move. So let's talk about how you can do this yourself. And I really did a combination of the two. I did a lot of this myself with some DIY stuff, and I got my own hypnotherapy work so that I could do this subconscious programming. And let me tell you, it doesn't mean that sometimes it's not painful. You basically have to get to this point where you don't give a shit what the world thinks of you anymore. And you also are determined to not be paralyzed. Now, I had a very interesting story. I won't really dive into it, but I was very involved in church leadership for a long time, and that was my world. When I deconstructed my faith and really did away with a lot of the beliefs around religion and the constructs that it has, I lost a lot of friends. I had people send me hateful things on Facebook. I didn't have the support that I once believed was there, but I had finally gotten to the point where, even though that hurt, I knew that I didn't care enough to make it stop me from moving in a direction that was actually good for me, that was more authentic to me. And so That's the point you really need to get to. So let me give you a few steps that you can do today, really 3 things that will help you make this shift. So first, start making smaller decisions when you would normally abdicate those decisions to other people. Choosing which restaurant you want to go to, saying which movie you want to go to, being proactive and saying, if I was just by myself, where would I want to go? And then sharing that, being assertive in that, letting your voice be heard and making some smaller decisions for your life gets you a little bit more confidence. Now, second, you want to remind yourself that you've navigated everything in life so far that life has thrown at you. You have. You're here. You're alive. It might not have been perfect, but you learned, you grew, and you were resourceful enough to get through it. And you can do that again. So we got to remind ourselves of the truth. And the third thing is that you really do have to decide to be proactive in your life instead of waiting for life to happen to you. And so you do this by writing down what your values are. Write down what you want to feel in life and experience. And then you need to get really honest with yourself, and you need to list where you are not pursuing those things, where you're out of alignment with those values, where your days are filled with things that don't reflect that. Look at just your single normal day. Is there time for you to prioritize those values? If there isn't, something's off. So you have to get really real with yourself, and it really helps to write it down. So write down your values, what's important to you. Let's say I write down, my highest value is my connection with my kids. Well, my kids are now out of the house. They're grown. My 2 youngest are in college. They're not at home anymore. So if I say that's my highest value, but I never reach out to my kids, I never make plans to connect with them, then I'm not reflecting my highest values. So we have more than one value, but we really need to get honest with ourselves about what those are and where we are out of alignment. And then start taking some action steps to get in alignment. And again, if this content has resonated with you, I would really appreciate it if you would click like and subscribe so you can be notified every time I post a new video. And if you'd like to get that custom hypnotherapy process going for you so you can really make some traction and momentum and create change in your life with the hypnotherapy process, check out that link in the description below. And until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.